1965 was the year the world stood on edge. War thundered overseas, protest signs filled the streets, and a restless new generation was demanding its voice. And right in the middle of the chaos came a sound no one could ignore. In smoky studios and sleepless bedrooms, riffs were scribbled, chords slammed, and lyrics captured before they could vanish. Some were accidents. Some were cries for help. But together, they rewired the culture. And tonight, we're stepping back into 12 tracks that prove music wasn't just entertainment, it was ignition. Number 10, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, The Rolling Stones.
I can't get no satisfaction.
It started in the middle of the night. Keith Richards woke up, hit record, and strummed a riff half asleep. By morning, the tape was 2 minutes of guitar and 40 minutes of snoring. But those 2 minutes changed history. Released in June 1965, Satisfaction ripped straight to number 1 in both the US and UK. Radio stations tried to ban it for obscene lyrics, but teenagers only turned it up louder. That fuzz tone riff wasn't planned either. Richards wanted horns, but the Maestro FZ1 pedal gave him the dirtiest guitar sound anyone had ever heard. Suddenly, rebellion had a sound. And when it roared back in Apocalypse Now over Vietnam jungle shots, it proved this wasn't just a single. It was rock's declaration of war. Number 9. Help, the Beatles.
Help me if you can, I'm feeling down.
On the surface, it was bubbly pop, the title track for their second film. But John Lennon later admitted, Help was his subconscious cry for rescue as Beatlemania devoured him. Released in July 1965, it raced to number 1 across the world. Millions sang along, never realizing Lennon was drowning in fame. The American LP even opened with a strange James Bond-style instrumental intro, a collector's quirk that baffled UK fans. And decades later, Lennon confessed it was one of his most real songs, buried under pop gloss. Behind the mop-top smiles was a man unraveling, and Help was his SOS disguised as a hit single. Number 8, Respect, Otis Redding. Before Aretha turned it into a feminist anthem, Otis Redding gave Respect its first roar. Released in August 1965, it was raw, urgent, and unmistakably Southern soul. Redding's demand wasn't political at first. It was a man asking for dignity at home.
What you want, honey, you got it. What you need, baby, you got it.
But the grit in his voice carried a bigger truth, one that listeners couldn't ignore in the heat of the civil rights era. The track hit number 4 on the R&B charts, spreading from Memphis juke joints to national airwaves. And when Aretha reimagined it just 2 years later, she built on Redding's fire. What started as one man's plea became the backbone of a movement, and it began here in 1965 with Otis singing for respect.
Sock it to me, mama. Sock it to me. Respect, yeah. Respect.
Number 7, For Your Love, the Yardbirds. Written by Graham Gouldman, For Your Love fused Baroque's pop with rock swagger, even featuring a harpsichord. Released in March 1965, it hit number 1 in the UK and number 6 in the US. But success tore the band apart.
For your love, I'll give you everything, and more, and that's for sure. For your love, I'll give you diamond rings and things right to your door.
Eric Clapton, furious about the new pop direction, quit the Yardbirds in protest, right as the song was climbing the charts. That tension made history. Clapton left for John Mayall, Jeff Beck stepped in, and Jimmy Page soon followed. Out of one song came 3 guitar legends. For Your Love didn't just change the charts, it changed the lineup of rock royalty. Number 6, Like a Rolling Stone, Bob Dylan.
Once upon a time, you dressed so fine, through the bumps of dime in your prime. Then you.
When Bob Dylan went electric, he didn't just plug in, he detonated. Like a Rolling Stone ran over 6 minutes, an eternity for radio. But its lyrical flood turned pop songwriting upside down. Columbia executives begged for a shorter cut, but DJs played it anyway.
How does it feel? How does it feel?
It soared to number 2 in the US, proving audiences wanted more than teen love songs. Its opening snare hit, The Shot Heard Round the World, announced a new Dylan. Poetic, snarling, unfiltered. This was the moment pop music grew up, and Dylan became the reluctant prophet of a restless generation.
On your own, with no direction home.
Number 5, My Generation, The Who. Roger Daltrey spat it more than he sang it. Hope I die before I get old. That line alone made My Generation the youth anthem of 1965. Released in October, it shook Britain to its core.
Why don't you all fade away? And say that don't try and dig what we all
Peaking at number 2 in the UK. In America, radio stations hesitated, fearing the lyrics and Daltrey's stutter were mocking people with disabilities. But the stutter wasn't a joke. It was anger, boiling over in rhythm. Pete Townshend later said he was channeling pure frustration. This wasn't just a song. It was the sound of a door slamming in the face of the older generation. Number 4, California Dreamin', The Mamas and the Papas.
all the leaves are brown.
It began on a freezing New York winter day when John Phillips and Michelle Phillips longed for California sunshine. They wrote the song in 20 minutes, and by late 1965, it was recorded in LA with members of the Wrecking Crew. Released in December, it climbed into early 1966 as one of the defining hits of the decade. Its haunting flute solo, played by Jasmine Bud Shank, gave it an otherworldly feel. And its lyrics, yearning to escape, became the counterculture's anthem. From snow-covered sidewalks to endless beaches, California Dreamin' turned wanderlust into harmony. Number 3, The Tracks of My Tears and the Miracles.
People say I'm the life of the party 'cause I tell a joke or two.
Smokey Robinson called it one of his proudest works, a ballad of smiling through heartbreak. Released in June 1965, it became a Motown masterpiece and a top 20 hit. The song's poetic metaphor, hiding tears behind laughter, struck deep with listeners.
I need you, need you.
It went on to be covered by Linda Ronstadt, Aretha Franklin, and Johnny Rivers, earning Smokey a permanent place as the Poet Laureate of Soul. Behind its gentle melody was universal pain, the kind you can't hide forever.
The drops of my tears, oh yeah.
Number 2, Heart Full of Soul, The Yardbirds. Just months after For Your Love, the Yardbirds pushed further with Heart Full of Soul. Released in June 1965, it introduced a new guitar voice, Jeff Beck. Beck mimicked the sound of a sitar with his electric guitar, pioneering raga rock months before George Harrison tried it with the Beatles. The single hit number 9 in the US and number 2 in the UK. Its Eastern flavor helped light the fuse for Psychedelia. Years later, critics hailed it as one of the first true psychedelic rock records. One single, one new guitarist, and suddenly rock had cracked open its third eye. And number 1, Papa's got a brand new bag, James Brown.
Papa's in the sweat.
In July 1965, James Brown cracked the code. With Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, he stripped soul to its rhythm and rewired the future of music. The horn stabbed, the groove snapped, and Brown barked commands like a preacher on the mountaintop. It wasn't melody anymore, it was funk. The single shot to #1 on the R&B charts and #8 on the pop charts, announcing that black music was no longer just crossing over, it was taking over. Brown called it his new bag, but it was more than that. It was a blueprint, laying the foundation for funk, hip-hop, and every beat-driven revolution to follow. 10 songs, 10 sparks that set 1965 ablaze. They challenged authority, inspired movements, and proved music could carry the weight of a generation. Looking back, it's clear, 1965 didn't just soundtrack the decade, it rewrote it. And half a century later, those echoes still refuse to fade. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.